Okay, hi everyone. Hi Roman. I would like to talk today about our technical implementation of Peak Defense AI. And today on the call with me, Roman, is CEO of Peak Defense. We had previous session where we talk about business impact of AI on security and audit area, and today we will be focused more on technicalities of how it's implemented, what technologies help us, and so on. So, Roman, can you start with a short description about yourself and about Peak Defense AI?
Yeah, of course. Awesome. Thanks for having us. And yeah, thanks for drilling us with all these questions and answering our questions. This is helpful not just for us. I think it's helpful for many people that follow what we do. First, our clients in information security, and that's what the company does. Company provides professional services historically, but last year we decided to pivot, I guess, into a full-on SaaS platform for companies that manage their information security risks, manage their compliance, and effectively address threats that we're facing every day in business and elsewhere with information security. Yeah, that's us, and I'm currently sitting in a hotel room in Stockholm. Just flew in to meet some of our biggest customers. Also meeting AWS, which you know very well. We working closely with them as well. And yeah, that's Peak Defense, and that's me.
Okay, that's cool. You came to us with you did some experiments earlier, and you came with some prototypes of solutions for audit. Can you describe your experience of it and how it looks like and why you decided to go beyond of this?
Yeah, sure. Like I said, historically, we've been doing a lot of, I guess you call it consulting in information security, which is usually depends on a few skilled, experienced individuals that have to do a lot of legwork, have to spend time with the customers, understanding the context, read a lot, and then see how the best practice and experience can help companies set up efficient or effective security, right? Because security historically is viewed as a disabler, as something that kind of closes doors and opportunities. We look at it differently, not just because we want to sell more as a security company, but because we're also entrepreneurs ourselves, and we know that it can be disabler if you don't approach it properly. So we try to figure out how to achieve optimal level of security with minimum or minimal investment of time and resources, which is really relevant for scale-ups and startups and even big companies, right? Because to manage everything in today's environment where new threats are emerging all the time is really, really costly, and it slows you down. And we had this idea that if you have the right context and you understand the risks that you're facing today, which is nothing new, these are kind of main tenets of information security. But if you have that top of your mind, quote unquote, all the time, if you have this overview, then you're able to make fast and good decisions, wise decisions. The problem with this is, again, if it depends on a few individuals, externally or internally in your company, it just doesn't work, doesn't scale well. But AI started to really get traction in the last couple of years, and we thought, why don't we take AI and see if we can build a prototype where this heavy lifting, where this context, understanding context, ongoing, continuous, would be done by the machines, and then the most important information, decision information, presented back to the business, and then the business makes informed calls on what they need to protect and they don't protect. And that's what we played with ourselves. We were really surprised by the prototype that we managed to build, surprised in a way that it worked unreasonably well. And then we thought, okay, now we need someone who is much better at it than us. And that's how we came to you.
Okay, I remember. So currently we have Claude 3. It was recently released. I already played with it. The time when we started, we had Claude 2. And I remember we had discussion of which model we need to select. Is it go to open source or we will need to train ourselves? Open source and fine tune it or use some commercial one. Do you remember the key metrics and criteria that impacted decision of selected Claude 2 as we did some time ago?
I think I do. I think one primary criteria for us was security of the model, because the context that we are working in is highly sensitive. Companies' business sometimes depends on it. We cannot share this with a commercial model that uses this data to train their model, or at least that is not transparent in how it's using the data. And for some customers and businesses, that's just a no-go, to load their entire knowledge base into AI model that they have no control over. So that was one. Performance and speed and performance, not just in how quickly it can analyze and give results back, but also in how accurate and on point, what we call in this industry hallucination. It works. Because again, this is not asking a Gen AI to write a bedtime story for your kids. This is something that needs to be on point. And if the model doesn't know it, then it doesn't know it. It shouldn't try to make it up. That was the second, I think, big thing. And flexibility was another one, right? We needed to move fast, which we achieved together with you, but we also wanted to not corner ourselves where we're going to be stuck with one model or it's going to be really expensive for us to change. Not that we're planning to change at this point, but we need to have that option, most likely to be able to add more models that are better at certain tasks. Because you know better than me how quickly everything is evolving in this space.
Yes.
So those were, I think, the main considerations that we had.
Yeah. I would like to add that hosting our own model was quite expensive once. And secondly, commercial model was surprisingly well that time. And we decided to don't spend time on gathering data, training model, and so on. We just take out of the shell ready model and started experimenting. And actually, when I mentioned the data, I think it was the second challenge. We didn't had a lot of data on the beginning. Can you describe the process, how we come up with some data, what the challenges was to get this initial data?
Yeah, I mean, I think we didn't, and we did at the same time, in the sense that this wasn't a whole new idea where we didn't have any data. We had, a couple of decades of experience in this space, but of course that data was not cataloged in a way where it would be useful. It was, to a large extent in people's heads, of course in documentation as well, but that also presented the problem because some of that data is not something that we could just use because for the same privacy reasons that I mentioned earlier. So we had to look at what we had, kind of handpicked enough data to overcome this cold start problem. And then together with you guys, we were running a lot of tests and trying to see how the model behaves and how it performs. To be honest, we're still in this process. The way it works is, again, unreasonably well, because in our case, we don't just have AI do everything and not look at it. We have this kind of what we call machine human hybrid, where AI does a lot of heavy lifting for us, but then people, professionals, review review for the sake of delivering quality, but also for the sake of teaching and helping the model learn back. So yeah, I mean, maybe a long-winded answer, but we had to kind of go back and look at everything we've been doing for years, and then lift some of that information and turn it into data that was at the end useful for training the model or working with the model.
I remember we also implemented data gathering process. This is a feedback loop. How impactful it is for your business and yeah.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I personally think that there is never enough feedback. And when there is feedback, we humans don't necessarily use it to the extent that we should. So for this particular case, for our product, feedback loop and reinforced learning is extremely important. That's how we get better. In global sense, just making a better product, but also for each particular company, for each particular user, that feedback is also super important because it allows the model to get more personal, if you will, and achieve higher relevancy. Of course, it's a two-way street. You need to give feedback. But the way we see this, the way we plan this evolving, I think it's going to be a natural part of working with big defense AI, because yeah, it's natural interaction. You ask a question, you get something back, and then you provide feedback on it.
Okay. In Europe, it's quite popular, maybe problem. It is lingua problem. So multilingual environment, you have multilingual documentation. And I recall the first test that we didn't expect is that it works. And actually we got some results. Can you describe about this experience, how you tested multilingual documentation?
Sure. Yeah, we have we're working with the languages in the Nordics and in the Baltics, and some of those languages are quite small naturally, so there is not a great support like for English or Spanish, but there are different ways that you normally solve it. Sometimes you have to even translate, which of course there is a risk that you lose the quality. In our case, we again were, I can say, surprised by how well our model and our flow handled smaller languages without much of special training. I guess the learnings there, the keys there are you have to take care of the right context, the right questions, and the right information that you work with or the model works with, and then it performs much better. If we would be sloppy in this, maybe it wouldn't be so good. Then again, it's not perfect. It probably never will be perfect, but we are constantly using smaller languages, and we see the demand for it would only grow. So it works, as we say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I just shared a few technical details. So Claude 2 supports, I think, around hundreds of languages out of the box. So that is why we didn't do anything with large language model. And also we use embedding in order to transform the documentation information to some kind of like digital space, vector space. And we also use Amazon Bedrock embedding. It's also multilingual. It supports less languages, but still it was capable out of the box to work with multilingual even. So documentation in one language, question on English, it's actually come up with answers on original language from the context. That was surprisingly well. Okay,
Yeah, I mean,
so
it's not 100% perfect if you do it like this, but it's a really very good starting base. I agree with you. We were surprised how well it worked.
surprised that we didn't spend any time to do this, to support it. We just develop English version, and it just works on many languages. And actually, Claude 3, I think, much better than second one. And here we will get much better result with multilingual. And embedding is also improving through the time. So we will see how it will go.
Yeah.
We did development processes going through experiments, getting a feedback, gathering some metrics, and trying to improve it. Can you describe this process? How you think it was efficient, where we can improve, and yeah, how you see this from customer perspective, this process of experimenting and developing such solution?
Where do I start? Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of experimentation, especially I think in any product, in any new problem you're trying to solve or any new solution for a problem. But especially if it comes down to AI, because everything is still so new and everything is changing. So if you don't go with this mindset of, okay, we have to experiment, and as cliche as it sounds, fail fast, I think you might not get to the results that you're looking to get fast enough. There is no guarantees because, the experiments might all fail. But if you have the right team and you share this kind of attitude that, okay, let's learn together. Let's not mix egos into the mix, and let's just discard whatever doesn't work quickly and move on to the next thing. You have a chance. We used, I think, a well tried and tested combination of methodologies where we decided what we want to do in a small enough intervals, sprints as they known, and then no real expectation that it has to be done certain way, right? The idea was to see if it can be done and learn from that. And that's where we found that, we kind of think alike with you guys. And it was quite easy to work in that partnership. And as you know, not everything that we tried worked. We had to, let some things go. Maybe we will try them again in the future as the state of art evolves. But what we managed to do together is quite impressive. We can't really keep up right now with the demand from our customers who wants to use it. Yeah. So let's flip the table a little bit because we are trying to help friends and just people out there who are trying to use AI for solving real problems. And maybe let's talk a little bit about how we set it up, because I think our setup is quite nice. It allowed you to build things and start using them quickly. And a lot of people are wondering if they have to buy expensive GPUs, MEUs, or they have to go and get a PhD somewhere, or they can just go to GitHub and download something and it will just work. And I think none of those things are really true. The truth is, for me anyways, is to partner up with someone who is reasonably good at what they do, and then again stick to this flexible mindset, and then you can find a solution. And we didn't really want to manage any infrastructure. We still don't at this point. I think at some point that will change, but as much as possible, we want to someone else to manage for us, because our core is not infrastructure and operations. Our core competency is providing companies and people in the marketplace with an efficient information security solution. So maybe you can talk a little bit about how we designed our architecture, and also with the hindsight now, if we would do something differently, if we would be doing it again.
Yes. So how we managed to do so quickly? I think we already had some experience. We come up with some accelerators, and yeah, we're doing experiments every day and in different areas, and we have a team that's capable to quickly create a demo prototype of some solutions. And I think it's way how we start, create quickly prototype and check the feasibility of your idea and make sure that it will work. And I think it's how we started. The next step, it will be create some product, because just playground, it's not something repeatable, reliable, and so on. It's just playground, as it's called. In order to build something that will bring real value, you need to stop some data processing. You need to go find the right model and find some database and structures that can handle all of this. And I think we kind of like did this in the right way. Also, we addressed several your requirements like security, data privacy. So we selected right region, set up encryption, and so on. We also addressed scalability part, because we go and did it fully serverless. So we didn't host much of the things. And most of the heavy lifting we put on AWS. So they host instances for us. They provide us serverless services that we can easily just through the API integrate and deploy our code and so on. That is what went well, and I'm pretty, I'm happy that we did this way. Regarding how we can improve, recent my experiments and the idea, and I played with LangChain recently and LangGraph that recently was released. I think we didn't have such solution earlier, but actually LangGraph currently is something that's capable to simplify the architecture significantly comparing with what we have developed. And let me step back and describe you how solutions look like. So we have Streamlit user interface where you can submit your documentation, then trigger process of audit and download the report. Quite simple user interface. Under the UI, we have API, and this API connected to, for example, ChromaDB. It is vector store where we convert our documentation to vector and store it there, and we search through this database. And we have a step function and lambda functions in order to do the processing, actual processing. So what do step function? It's so we need to run hundreds of questions, and ideally at the same time. So what does the function for us? It can parallel the process, trigger hundreds of lambda functions, answer in parallel each question of the audit. So do you have information security policies? Do you have somebody responsible for this? And so on. We have hundreds of questions, we answer them, and then we reduce it to single informational truth and create the report from this. So this process allows us to scalable almost without any cost to hundreds questions and process hundreds questions within 5 minutes. That is pretty good. For example, if we do it in sequence, that may take an hour or 2 hours to process and generate reports. So that is significantly improvement. Yeah, that is what we develop. And my guess with one graph, that something can be implemented easier, and we can put on graph such things like making decision, prioritization, and so on. It's just hypothesis. I did few experiments with this. They're pretty promising. That is why I'm saying it. And yeah, that's something I think I would like to improve.
Cool, very cool. Let's find an excuse to improve some of what we have and
Yeah.
play with line graph. Very cool. Thanks for this. So I just wanted to follow up quickly on what you said on the making it go in this parallelized manner where you can get a lot of answers at the same time. This is also key because yeah, it speeds up our work of information security professionals that we work with that use this tremendously, and that is a kind of massive value add because you need to not just see things clearly, see in a way of know what is going on in your business, in information security and assets that you're trying to protect, but you also need to be able to act quickly and swiftly and base your decisions on good information. So processing a lot of data and getting meaningful results, meaningful recommendations without having to wait for it for hours or days is super valuable. This is one of the things that people that work with us really like.